Hello and welcome back to Bicyclelegs and another edition of Anniversary Albums. Today we're going to be looking at albums that are having a significant anniversary in the month of January 2023. Again, for those who are new to this series, when I say a significant anniversary, I'm talking about an anniversary that ends in a 5 or a 0. So 50th, 25th, 35th, 40th, that sort of thing. You'll get the gist as we go along. As usual, I've picked 10 albums to have a look at. I've definitely missed some out, so please let me know in the comments which ones you think I should have included. But let's get into it and start with an album that's having its 40th anniversary in the month of January. It was originally released on the 4th of January 1983, and that is Sweet Dreams Are Made of This by Eurythmics. I mean, this was their second album, but it was their first album that really broke through into the charts. And obviously the title track was a huge hit for them, as was Love Is a Stranger. But there's so many other really good songs on this album. I've done a review, a studio albums ranked of Eurythmics, so go and have a look at that. I'll leave a link in the description. That'll give you more detail about this album. This one ranked very highly in my list, so you can go and have a look at that. Next album we're going to have a look at is having its 50th anniversary in the month of January. It was originally released on the 5th of January 1973. It is the debut album from Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, and that is Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. I mean, it's got his version of Blinded by the Light, which was obviously made a huge hit by Manfred Mann's Earth Band. Growing Up is a great song. Mary Queen of Arkansas, Does This Bus Stop at 82nd Street? Lost in the Flood, The Angel, Spirit in the Night. There's some really, really good early storytelling Bruce Springsteen on this album. Wonderful, wonderful start to an amazing career that's still going to this very day. The next album we're going to have a look at is a controversial album in this particular artist's canon, but it's an album that I've always really, really liked. It was released on the 10th of January 1983, so it's having its 40th anniversary in the month of January, and that is Trans by Neil Young. The first of his short-lived group of albums that he did on Geffen Records after leaving Reprise Records. He then went back to Reprise. But yeah, this album is sort of a combination of some stuff that's a little more traditional Neil Young sounding with stuff that's sort of very heavily sort of uses a lot of vocoders and synthesizers and that sort of thing. He was trying to use these songs to communicate to his son, who had, I think it was cerebral palsy. It's a wonderful album. I think it's a great album. It's got a heavy Devo influence, which might be considered very unusual. But Neil Young actually was good friends with Devo. They featured in his film The Human Highway, which came out around just before Trans did in 1982. Devo also gave him the title Rust Never Sleeps. So that's another influence that Devo had on Neil Young. But I think this is a massively underrated album in the Neil Young canon, and I think it's one that's definitely worth revisiting and listening to with a fresh set of ears, because I think there's some really great stuff on here. Also, the very first Neil Young record I ever bought was the single of Little Thing Called Love. So there you have it. The next album is celebrating its 45th anniversary in the month of January. It was released originally on the 18th of January 1978. It is the actually technically third album, but second album on Asylum Records for Warren Zevon, and that is Excitable Boy. Now, this is the album where, like, if you don't know Warren Zevon, you know the one song on this album, which is Werewolves of London. fabulous song, but there's so many other great songs on here. The title track, Excitable Boy, Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner, just a wonderful, crazy song. Johnny Strikes Up the Band, beautiful song. Accidentally Like a Martyr, Tenderness on the Block, beautiful ballad from him. Lawyers, Guns and Money that closes it out, hilarious song, but absolutely wonderfully sung and played as well. Probably not my favourite Warren Zevon album, but definitely right up there because it is an incredible album. Now the next album's a relatively new album. It's only celebrating its 5th anniversary in the month of January. It was originally released on the 19th of January 2018, and that is I Like Fun by They Might Be Giants. To me, this album is a continuation of what is a real renaissance in their career that started off with the album immediately before this, which was Glean. Glean is my favourite They Might Be Giants album of all time, which is incredible so late into their career, seeing as they started off in the 80s. And this one's almost as good as Glean as far as I'm concerned. You've got wonderful songs like Let's Get This Over With and All Time What, and By the Time You Get This, one of my absolute favourite They Might Be Giants songs ever. Insult to the Fact Checkers is a wonderful rocker. Mrs. Bluebeard's another incredible song on this. I Like Fun, the title track, is one of the weirdest things they've done in a while. Really, really good. This Microphone's great. McCafferty's Bib, The Greatest, Last Wave. I mean, there's just so much good They Might Be Giants music on here. One of their, this is probably still a top 5 They Might Be Giants album for me. That's how highly I regard this album. And it's, you know, sort of their second to most recent album. Just incredible that they're knocking it out of the park so late in their career. The next album we're going to have a look at is another debut album. It's celebrating its 45th anniversary in the month of January. It was originally released on the 20th of January 1978. It's an incredible album, and that is White Music by XTC. Now this is in the very early stages of their career, obviously. It's their debut album. They had the 3D EP before this. But this has so many wonderful sort of arty, punky songs on it. Radios in Motion, Crosswires, This Is Pop. Statue of Liberty was a really great single. Atom Age, Set Myself on Fire, I'm Bugged, Neon Shuffle to close it out. I mean, just wonderful, wonderful stuff. You have the punky delivery of Andy Partridge and Colin Moulding on this album. They would sort of become more conventional singers. To a certain extent, they were always a little bit sort of unconventional in their singing, but they were really out there on this album. Andy's guitar is great. Barry Andrews on organ. Oh, the swirling and wonderful organs and pianos that he plays on this album. And Terry Chambers, to me, still the best drummer that XTC ever had. So, fabulous album. Again, I've done an XTC studio albums ranked. I'll leave a link to that in the description. You can go and check that out. The next album we're going to have a look at is having its 50th anniversary in the month of January. It was originally released in the UK on the 22nd of January 1973 and in the US on the 26th of January 1973. And that is Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player by Elton John. Another one of these albums that came out in this incredibly prolific period for Elton, where he was often releasing 2 albums a year. I mean, this same year he released another album and it was a double, and that's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. But I mean, this album, I mean, it has so many classic Elton John songs on it, like Daniel and Teacher I Need You and Crocodile Rock. But you also have things like Have Mercy on the Criminal and Elderberry Wine and Midnight Creeper. I mean, it's just a really wonderful Elton John album. But I mean, all that early Elton John, to me, just incredible music. Such a great songwriter, along with, of course, Bernie Taupin, his lyric writer. They wrote incredibly wonderful songs. Elton's voice was absolutely gorgeous at this time. His piano playing is just incredible. His band is great too. Wonderful album. Definitely go and have a listen to that. Love it. The next album we're going to have a look at is having its 40th anniversary in the month of January. It was originally released on the 22nd of January 1983, and that is Feline by the Stranglers. I love all the Hugh Cornwell era Stranglers stuff. I really must get into some of the later stuff, which I haven't done, which I'm a little ashamed to say, but this is another one of their really good albums. It comes off La Folie, which was like a breakthrough album for them after a little bit of a patch where they weren't doing so well in the charts and that sort of thing. They had a huge hit with Golden Brown on La Folie, and that really sort of propelled them back into the spotlight. This album went on and did even better, even though it didn't have a hit quite as big as Golden Brown. You've still got wonderful songs on here like Midsummer Dream, Ships That Pass in the Night, Let's Tango in Paris, All Roads Lead to Rome, Never Say Goodbye, Blue Sister. Yeah. They're definitely gone away from their punk roots by this stage, but they're still producing incredible, wonderful, slightly complex music. Really love it. Definitely worth a listen. The next album is one that a lot of you may not know, and you really should, because it's a wonderful album. If you like bands like Jellyfish and Imperial Drag, and then later on a band that's very much influenced by this band is the Lemon Twigs. That really sort of wonderful power pop, Baroque pop, very sort of influenced by that 60s lush production and that sort of thing. This is an album by a band called Foxygen, and it's called We Are the 21st Century Ambassadors of Peace and Magic. It's celebrating its 10th anniversary in the month of January. It was originally released on the 22nd of January 2013. Do yourself a favour. Go to your listening app of choice and find this album and listen to it, because it's just incredible stuff. Into the Darkness, No Destruction, San Francisco, the title track, Oh No 2, Oh Yeah. It's just incredible, wonderful. I really don't know how else to explain it. It's just joyous, and it's complex pop music that's really, really worth listening to. The last album we're going to have a look at today is celebrating its 50th anniversary in the month of January. It was originally released on the 23rd of January 1973. It's probably my favourite album by this particular artist, and that is The Six Wives of Henry VIII by Rick Wakeman. Recorded while he was still in Yes. A number of the members of Yes actually appear on this album. I mean, all 6 tracks are great. They're all named after the 6 wives of Henry VIII. So you've got Catherine of Aragon, Anne Boleyn, Jane Seymour, Anne of Cleves, Catherine Howard, and Catherine Parr. Just wonderful instrumental prog with Rick Wakeman just going absolutely nuts on his keyboards. I think it's one of the greatest showcases for Rick Wakeman's keyboard playing anywhere, including in his Yes canon. Fabulous album, and having its 50th anniversary. So those are my anniversary albums for the month of January 2023. Please let me know in the comments which of these albums are your favourites. Let me know which ones maybe you don't care for so much. That's fine too. I love hearing different opinions. Please also, as I said at the beginning, do tell me any of the albums that you think I missed that I should have included in this list, because I know there are albums that I left off. So leave those in the comments too. Please like, share and subscribe. It really does help the channel out. If you're new to the channel, please go and have a look at some of my other videos. Everything is playlisted, so you can just go to my playlists tab, and if you want to look at some of my other anniversary album shows, there's a playlist for those. If you want to look at my studio albums ranked shows, there's a playlist for those. If you want to look at my reviews, there's a playlist for those. My In Defense Of series playlist, etc, etc. Also, I just recently did a video on the Contrarians where I did a showcase. Marco from the Contrarians did an interview with me. So if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about bicyclelegs, please go and have a look at that. I will leave a link in the description for that video as well. That's also in my appearances on other channels playlist. So if you want to see where I've appeared on places like the Contrarians, Grant's Rock Warehouse, Rock Daydream Nation, and so on and so on, go to that playlist and you can see all the different appearances that I've made on other people's channels. I always love appearing on other people's channels. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, if you want to follow me on social media, I'm at bicyclelegs on Instagram and Twitter. Instagram, I tend to mostly be posting the albums I happen to be listening to at the time, as well as posting channel updates. On Twitter, I talk about anything and everything, but I am definitely trying to give that more of a music focus. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.